My name is Daniel Cross. I'm 42 years old. 14 years of military service, 2 tours in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan, and I came home thinking the worst was behind me. Turns out, the most brutal war I'd ever face wouldn't involve bullets. It would be fought with silence, betrayal, and a ring I never thought I'd have to take off. Last Saturday, I stood across the street from a church. White flowers hung from the gates. People laughed, glasses clinked. Someone yelled, "They're coming out!" And there she was, Anna, my wife, in a wedding dress, holding hands with the man I once called my brother. His name is Eric. We met in college, shared a dorm, shared drinks, and eventually, I shared my entire life with him. He was the godfather to my son. He ate at my table, cried with me when my father passed, and stood beside me on my wedding day. Now, he stood beside my wife, while I watched like a ghost on the outside. They didn't know I was there. I made sure of it. I didn't scream. I didn't rush in and ruin it. I just stood in the shadow of an oak tree, holding a box. Inside that box was my wedding gift. Not for Anna, not for Eric. It was for them. A gift they'd remember for the rest of their lives. You see, people expect war to look like explosions and fire, but sometimes it's quieter than that. Sometimes, revenge doesn't shout. It whispers, slowly, methodically, and it waits for the right moment. That moment was today. But let me tell you how we got here. I was born and raised in Amarillo, Texas. Joined the Army at 19. Met Anna at a 4th of July barbecue. She laughed like a kid, smiled like a movie star. By 25, I'd married her. By 30, we had a son. And for the next 10 years, I lived what I thought was the American dream. We weren't rich, but we had enough. We had movie nights, camping trips, shared playlists, and stupid inside jokes. And whenever I was deployed, Eric, my best friend, would step in, help around the house, mow the lawn, fix the sink. Everyone said, "You're lucky, Daniel. Most men don't have a friend like that." Yeah, I was lucky, all right. Lucky enough to be stabbed with a smile and called brother while it happened. But the truth is, betrayal doesn't arrive all at once. It shows up slowly, creeping in like mold behind wallpaper. At first, you smell something off, but by the time you see it, it's already everywhere. And in my case, it came wrapped in a PDF file that I opened while I was overseas. I remember exactly where I was, a base near Fallujah, dust everywhere, explosions in the distance. And then, the email. It was from a lawyer. My wife had just sold our house without telling me. Back then, I believed in simple things. Faith, family, loyalty, things that were supposed to be unbreakable. Anna and I met when I was 26, home on leave, burnout, tired of sand and sweat. She was waitressing at a diner just off Route 60. I remember exactly what she said when I asked for extra napkins. She smiled and said, "You planning to cry or just messy with food?" I laughed for the first time in months. That was her magic. She made things lighter. When I married her, I thought I was marrying safety, a soft landing, a woman who'd raise our kids and grow old beside me on a porch swing. We bought a small house just outside Amarillo, 2 bedrooms, a broken fence, and a backyard big enough for my son to chase fireflies. We painted the nursery blue, named our son Mason. When I got deployed, Anna held it all together. She never complained, not once. And when I came back, she'd always have something warm on the stove, a pie sometimes, or just candles lit and music playing. I remember one night, years ago, it was raining. She crawled into bed, curled up next to me and whispered, "I don't care about the money, Dan. I just want you safe." That moment stayed with me. It still stays with me, because it reminds me how real it all felt. We were a team. I handled the hard stuff, bills, deployments, fixing things that broke. She handled the heart, birthday parties, school meetings, Christmas lists. And then there was Eric. Good old Eric. He helped build Mason's crib. He was there when my transmission died or when I threw my back out shoveling snow. He was funny, charming, had that kind of smile people trust. I trusted him, too much. Looking back, maybe there were signs, like how Anna laughed a little harder at his jokes, or how he'd stop by even when I wasn't home. Just dropping off some tools, he'd say. Once I came home early and found them both sitting in the kitchen, talking, but they jumped like teenagers when I walked in. I asked, joking, "What's going on here, huh?" And Anna just smiled and said, "Relax, babe. We're planning your birthday surprise." And like a fool, I believed her. Because back then, I didn't live in doubt. I lived in love. We had traditions, Sunday pancakes, Thursday night card games. Every Christmas, Anna would buy me one weird gift, like glow-in-the-dark socks or a best husband ever apron. Silly stuff, but it mattered. You know what I miss the most? Her eyes, not how they looked, but how they used to look at me. With pride, with warmth, like I was someone worth holding on to. But over time, that look faded. It was subtle. Maybe just 1 second shorter when she hugged me. Maybe less laughter at dinner. More "I'm tired" and fewer "I missed you." I thought it was just life. Raising kids, paying bills. It wears people down. But love is supposed to stay. She used to call me her hero. Now sometimes she'd just call me Dan. One night I brought home her favorite wine, lit candles, tried to kiss her neck the way she used to like. She pulled away and said, "Not tonight, I've got a headache." Except, I checked the trash later. The bottle was empty. She'd already had it. Without me. That night I sat in the dark for hours, not crying, just staring, wondering what changed, what I missed. I blamed myself. Maybe I wasn't around enough. Maybe I didn't hold her enough. Maybe she got lonely and Eric just filled the space. But deep down, a small voice whispered, "She made a choice." And once that thought enters your mind, you can't unhear it. But still, I clung to hope, to the memories, to the woman who used to trace circles on my chest and call me her forever. Because when you build a life with someone, you don't just walk away when it gets cold. You wrap yourself tighter in it. And that's what I did. I wrapped myself tighter, even as everything was already falling apart. But then came that night, 2:07 a.m. Her phone lit up, and I saw the name on the screen. The first time I noticed it, I didn't want to believe it. I kept telling myself, it's just life. People get tired, they change. It's the stress of work and the kids and everything that's just part of being an adult. But then it started to happen more often. She was distant, in small ways at first. Her phone was always face down now. When I asked to see something on her phone, she'd make excuses. "I'm just texting my mom," or "It's a work thing." And then there was the silence. The kind of silence that made the air feel heavy. At dinner, she didn't talk much. I used to love listening to her complain about her day, the way her eyes would light up when she told me about some little detail at work. But now, it was like talking to a stranger across the table. The same smile, the same laugh, but something behind it was missing. I remember one night, I came home from work earlier than usual. Anna was in the kitchen, her back to me. I called her name, but she didn't turn around immediately. She just paused for a second, like she was caught in something. Then she turned, smiled, and said, "Hey, didn't expect you back so soon." Her voice was too calm, too rehearsed. That night, she went to bed early, said she had a headache again. But the weird thing, her phone never left her side. She held it close like it was a lifeline, her hand never straying far from it. The next day, I noticed her phone was buzzing constantly. I didn't want to snoop. I never did before. But curiosity got the better of me. I knew her passcode, and it had always been the same. Our wedding anniversary. A little personal thing, you know? I stood in the hallway for what felt like an eternity. The phone buzzed again. I finally made my move. I walked into the living room, leaned over the back of the couch, and looked at her screen. I saw the name. It wasn't a name I recognized, a man's name. My heart dropped into my stomach. I didn't touch it. I didn't open the messages, but I couldn't stop staring at it. That name, Jake. Who the hell was Jake? I stood there for what felt like hours, frozen. I knew I should confront her right then and there, but something stopped me. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was the hope that there was an explanation, but deep down I knew I was just terrified to face the truth. I did nothing that night. I went to bed beside her trying to act normal. But every time I closed my eyes, all I could see was that name on her phone screen. It wouldn't go away. The next few days were the same. Anna was colder. Her phone was always on silent. The secrecy was growing, but she still smiled at me, kissed me goodnight, said everything was fine. But it wasn't fine. It was a slow burn, a building tension that I could feel in my bones. I couldn't trust her anymore, and that hurt more than anything, because trust was all we had. The one thing I couldn't figure out was why. Why would she do this? What did I miss? I worked hard. I provided for her. I loved her. What had changed? It was all slipping through my fingers, and I couldn't stop it. Then came that night, the night I would never forget. It was around 2:07 a.m. I woke up to the faint sound of a buzzing phone. The light from the screen illuminated the dark room like a warning. I stayed still, pretending to be asleep. My heart was pounding in my chest. I could hear her breathing softly beside me, unaware. Then it happened. Her phone lit up, the name on the screen flashing once again. Jake. The message preview popped up before she could grab it. Can't wait to see you again tonight. I'll be ready, don't worry. I couldn't breathe. I didn't move. I just stared at that screen, my blood running cold. I waited for her to turn the phone off, to say something, to give me an explanation, but she didn't. She just laid there, quiet, pretending to sleep, and that's when I knew. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just started planning. The next morning I got up before her. I stood in the kitchen staring at the coffee brewing, listening to the slow drip, trying to hold myself together. I didn't sleep at all that night. I didn't need any more proof. That message said everything. But my heart still wanted to believe. Maybe there was some mistake. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe she'd tell me something, anything, that would make it make sense. But deep down, I knew the truth. And it was ugly. She walked into the kitchen like nothing had happened. Hair tied up, hoodie on, like any other day. She kissed my cheek and mumbled, "Morning." I didn't say anything. I couldn't. I just watched her pour herself a cup of coffee, like she hadn't just shattered everything we built. She was good at pretending. Too good, and that made it worse. Later that day, I told her I had to go into work early. It was a lie. I took the day off, sat in my truck 2 blocks from the house, and waited. At exactly 11:14 a.m., a car pulled into our driveway. A black Dodge Charger, tinted windows. A man stepped out. Tall, beard, baseball cap. She opened the door before he even knocked, and she smiled. That smile, it wasn't the smile she gave me anymore. It was different, real, warm. I watched them from a distance. They hugged. She laughed, and I felt something in my chest break. But I didn't move, didn't storm in, didn't scream. I just sat there and burned in silence. They went inside, stayed in there for almost 2 hours. When he finally left, she walked him out like nothing was wrong, like it was just another Tuesday. That was the moment, right there, watching her wave him off from our porch, the same porch where we took anniversary pictures, where we carved pumpkins together. That's when something inside me snapped. It wasn't rage, and it wasn't even sadness anymore. It was clarity, crystal clear clarity. I went home that night and said nothing. We had dinner, watched TV. She laughed at some dumb sitcom. I nodded along, but I wasn't there. Not anymore. I was in planning mode. People think betrayal makes you weak, but for someone like me, a soldier, a strategist, betrayal just wakes up a side of you that most people never see. The cold side, the focused side, the version of me I used overseas, the one who calculates, doesn't panic, and never, ever loses. I didn't cry that night. I didn't yell, didn't throw things. I opened my laptop, pulled out a hard drive, started a folder, labeled it Her Truth, and that was the beginning. That night I didn't break down. I started building something she wouldn't see coming. The first rule of any operation is simple. Stay calm, stay hidden. So for the next few weeks, I played my role, the husband, the provider, the quiet one. I kissed her goodbye in the mornings. I asked how her day was. I even brought her flowers once, just to keep her comfortable. And every night, while she scrolled on her phone and giggled at whatever nonsense he was sending her, I was downstairs collecting evidence. I installed a keystroke logger on the laptop she barely used anymore, switched out her old phone charger with one that had a hidden recording chip, placed a small mic inside the vent near her work desk. She never noticed, because cheaters never think the quiet ones are watching. I also bought a burner phone. Used it only for one thing, research, not texts, not calls, just screenshots, saved files and emails. Sent to myself, encrypted and hidden inside a cloud drive. I contacted a divorce attorney, not just any lawyer, a retired Marine turned family law pit bull named Thomas Grady. Grady didn't blink when I told him everything. He just leaned back and said, "You're not the first soldier she's underestimated, but you're going to be the last one who ever lets her win." He told me exactly what I needed. Dates, proof, patterns, and silence. I followed instructions like it was a mission briefing. Bank statements, copied, shared location history, downloaded, receipts from hotel bookings, saved, social media messages, archived. Every lie she ever told was now a bullet in my arsenal. I even managed to clone her iCloud. Grady showed me how. It was all there. Screenshots, voice notes, photos she swore she never took. Even a full chat thread where she referred to me as the boring old guard dog with a pension. That one hit hard, but I saved it because pain is powerful if you know how to use it. Then came the camera, a tiny wireless pinhole camera. I tucked it inside the smoke detector above our living room couch. Motion activated, 1080p, no sound, just video. 2 nights later, she invited him over again. I wasn't home, but my camera was. He walked in like he owned the place, sat on my couch, put his feet on my table. She laughed at his dumb jokes, called him babe, told him she was almost free. He asked if I suspected anything, and she said, "Nope. He still thinks I'm stressed from work. Poor guy's too soft to see the signs." Too soft, and I recorded the whole thing, saved it, labeled the file, final bullet. At that point, I had everything I needed. Everything except one last piece. Control of the narrative. So I waited 1 more week, made everything feel normal. Then I told her I had a veterans retreat that weekend. 3 days out of state, I packed a bag, drove 3 towns over, checked into a small motel. Then I turned my phone off and waited. Back at home, she thought I was gone. That's when I got the alert. Motion detected in the living room. They were there again, laughing, kissing, mocking. She even went through my mail while he joked about selling the house before the old man catches on. That was the moment I smiled for the first time in weeks, because she didn't realize. The old man was 5 steps ahead. She thought I'd never fight back, but she forgot. I've been trained to win wars without raising my voice. The morning I returned home, I didn't knock, didn't announce anything. I walked in like I owned the truth, because I did. She was in the kitchen, humming, acting normal, as if she hadn't just turned our home into a battlefield while I was away. I greeted her with a calm smile. She smiled back, but something in her eyes shifted, like a shadow flickering behind her pupils. She knew, some part of her soul knew that I wasn't the same man who left 3 days ago. But I said nothing, because the war was already won. All I had to do now was press play. 3 days later, we were in court. She didn't expect that, didn't expect the legal letter, didn't expect Grady standing beside me like a war general. She came alone, no lawyer, just confusion on her face, mixed with a little fear. The courtroom was small, quiet, a judge with silver hair, a stenographer who barely looked up, 2 bailiffs who didn't flinch. I handed the judge a folder. Inside it, screenshots, chat logs, bank transactions, audio recordings. Then I said 7 words. "Your Honor, I have video as well." The judge nodded. "Proceed." I turned the laptop toward him. Grady clicked play. It was that night, the one where she called me too soft, where she laughed about the house, where she kissed the man I never met in my living room. She looked away. The judge watched the full 2 minutes in silence. Then he looked at her. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. Then I played the audio, her voice whispering, "He has no idea. I'm selling the house behind his back. I've got a new life lined up. Just one last paper to sign, and the idiot is out of my way." The room went dead quiet. You could hear the buzz of the old ceiling fan above us. Then the judge leaned forward and said, "This isn't just betrayal. This is premeditated fraud." He didn't yell, didn't scold. He just wrote something down. And just like that, the legal hammer dropped. She lost everything. The house, awarded to me. Her car, seized to pay attorney fees. Access to my pension, denied. Alimony, zero. She was left with her clothes, her phone, and a court fine. The other man, he didn't even show up. Coward. Grady smiled as we walked out. "Mission complete," he said. But it didn't feel like a win. Not yet. Not until the final move. That night I went home, packed her remaining things into boxes, left them on the porch. She came by around midnight, didn't knock, just stood at the door crying. I watched from the window. Then I stepped outside and said quietly, "You broke the man who would have died for you. And in doing that, you gave birth to someone who no longer sees you." She tried to speak, but I walked away. That was the last time I ever saw her. The courtroom went silent. I played the audio file, and everyone heard what she really thought of me. Months passed. The storm had passed, but the silence it left behind was deafening. I moved out of the house that once held so many memories, good and bad. Found a small apartment downtown, quiet, simple, mine. Every morning I woke up without the weight of betrayal pressing down on my chest. I started running again, just like I used to before life got complicated. The rhythm of my footsteps on pavement, steady, calming, reminded me who I was. I lost so much, not just a wife or a home. I lost trust. I lost the future I thought I had. But I also learned something invaluable. No one can take your soul if you don't give it away. No matter how dark the night, the sun will rise. No matter how deep the pain, healing begins when you choose it. I'm not here to tell you revenge makes everything okay. It doesn't. But sometimes it's the justice you need to reclaim yourself. I don't hate her anymore. I pity her. Because when someone betrays you so deeply, they're really just lost, trapped by their own darkness. Now I'm rebuilding, piece by piece. No grand gestures, no shouting, just quiet strength. My job, my friends, my morning runs. Simple things, real things. And every day I remind myself, she took everything except my soul. And from that, I rebuilt my life. Not for her, not for revenge, but for me. If you've ever been betrayed, if you're going through your own storm right now, remember, you're stronger than you think. And sometimes the hardest battles make the strongest warriors. Thank you for listening to my story. If you want more real stories of justice and survival, please subscribe and hit that like button. Your support means the world.